Howdy y'all, I'm Mickey, and I might be cursed. I don't know if I did something to upset someone in a previous life, or I did something to earn this in this one, but I have weird luck that follows me around. My friends dubbed it Murphy's Law, and me, Mickey Murphy, especially when we watched Milo Murphy's Law, and I kept relating my own life back to the stuff that was happening in the show. Murphy's Law being this idea around luck, where places or people attract this kind of, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong energy. But I'm not sure if it's that, or just some kind of like chaos energy that follows me and causes things to be, a bit more interesting around me. Hence, the name. But in either case, I'm either cursed or blessed or neutrally magically acted upon, and weird things happen around or to me. And I thought maybe I would just look back through some of them today. It all started when I was born, literally, with my umbilical cord around my neck. And while that's not that unusual, it was a kind of hint of what was to come. Now, I'm not going to go through every example there is, because that would be endless, but I do have some notable ones that I think just kind of get the point across here. Starting off with the smaller scale, kind of easy to pass off incidents. The only time I've ever been stung by a bee, I was stung by the same one twice. I didn't know they could do that. And before anyone asks, it was a bee. The stinger did come out the second time. It just happened that it didn't the first time, so he came back again. Sticking with the bug vibe here, I really don't like to be around ants, because at some point in my life I have had all 4 of my limbs completely covered in them. 2 separate incidents. One time I jumped off of a trampoline. I guess I had landed in an anthill somehow and had to have stood in it for a significant amount of time, because by the time I realized my legs were just covered in ants and I had to get sprayed off with a hose. And the second time I'd picked something up in the garage, I think dog food maybe, and it must not have been closed properly. By the time I looked down because I felt something weird, my arms were entirely brown. Like I couldn't see my skin through the ants. Horrible experience, by the way. I didn't even get bitten that much. It wasn't like it hurt. It was just the idea of being covered in that many ants did something to my brain. That episode of the Magnus Archives in season 5 where the guy's in the giant anthill, absolutely not. I'm like itchy now. Sorry if you are too. Not bugs, but animal related. I've been chased by angry dogs. I didn't do anything to upset them. I was walking down the road one day at my grandfather's house having a lovely time, lovely walk. I love walks. And as I go down this road, 2 dogs round the corner. And I'm not a fan of their vibe. I don't know. They're walking with a purpose. But they round the corner, they split off so that they're on both sides of the road here. So I can't go off into the woods. They have blocked both sides. And they start coming at me. Now, the advice that I had been given prior to this on how to interact with dogs in a situation like this, where they're angry with you, is to pretend to be a tree. Essentially, stand still, don't make eye contact, be as unthreatening as possible, and hope they go away. And that has worked in another situation where there was a dog who was out wandering and I was out walking, and he didn't look like he liked my vibe, and so I kind of like made it obvious I was giving him space. We knew the vibe, and we both went our separate ways. These dogs were not having it. I wasn't anywhere near their territory. I wasn't anywhere near where they were. They decided, though, I was the only person out, and they hated me. So I had to run. The adrenaline, the fear unlocked this master speed that I will never accomplish again in my life. I didn't get bitten, thankfully. I made it back to my dad, who was astounded by his now flash speed child. And the dogs backed off when confronted with more than one person. Seriously, why were they so angry at me? Other things that we could pass off. I've gotten mono twice. You're not supposed to be able to do that. It's supposed to be once you get it, you're immune. Like, chicken pox. It's, you know, the doctor was like, oh, well, it's good that you got it in kindergarten. Not good that you ever got it, but if you were going to get it, at least you got it in kindergarten, because mono gets worse. It's worse to deal with the older you are when you get it. So you've gotten it at 5 or 6 or however old I was, and so you won't get it again, and you're dealing with it at about the easiest age to do so. And then I hit junior year, and boom, mononucleosis 2. She just had to make a comeback. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. Not as bad as pneumonia, but still not fun. One time when going to Disney, every single ride broke when we got to it. They would be fine. They'd be fine until we were in the loading area, and then done. We got on the monorail, and it started malfunctioning, and then they couldn't load it again after we got off. I'm sorry, technology just sometimes doesn't like to be around me. Also, part of the reason people were getting tired of having to deal with my account for register access at my job, because I had somehow glitched out the system. It wasn't registering that I existed, and I had to be completely re-added back in because my stuff had just glitched in a way no one had seen before. I didn't even touch anything. I'd been away for several days. Just sometimes electronics and I aren't the best of friends. Speaking of work, there are tasks that I just won't do anymore, because tell me why I tried to go to replace condiments and I picked up that bag of ketchup, and nothing wrong with it. I pick the bag up, it just splits down the seam, just opens, pours ketchup down me, because of course it did. Because why would I have tried to handle a bag? I just wanted to be helpful, and the chaos energy said absolutely not. But the Murphy's Law, or chaos energy, or whatever it is, isn't always just small things. One time trying to drive back from my mom's house to here on the highway, my tire just unexpectedly exploded. Just lost one of my tires while going down the highway on a bridge that the shoulders are always closed off. There are no shoulders to the bridge. I had to continue driving down the bridge until I got off and could pull off the road. Everyone was fine, don't worry. There were no injuries, no crashes. I didn't lose control of my vehicle. The chaos energy brings chaos, but does not actually hurt anyone. One time, my family took me and my friend to the beach, and we were boogie boarding around, and while we were boogie boarding, not far out, because boogie boarding, you know, the boards are only like this big, you're not getting on them the way you are surfboards. You jump off of the ocean floor, so it has to be, you know, shallow enough I can stand, and I'm pretty short, so I don't go that far out in the ocean. No signs marking anything being unusual, lifeguard isn't on the lookout, nothing should be wrong with this water. So I go to boogie board down this wave or whatever, I'm paddling around with my board, when I suddenly get stopped in place and yanked underwater. Thankfully, boogie boards have little wrist straps that you can attach to yourself that connect you to the board, that I also hold the physical rope for it while doing so that my board doesn't wash up onto shore 2 miles down. You know, I want to keep my board with me. I used the rope to pull myself back up, put myself on top of the board. I don't understand why it's so difficult. It's like there's a rip current under me, but it's not going out, it's just going down. My friend came over to check out what was going on. She also gets pulled down, has to hold onto my board. So we're both clinging on to this boogie board, trying to figure out why this rip current is going straight down into the earth. We call out for my dad. He looks over, sees a weird situation. This is not good, and we're calling out for help in the ocean. Bad. He's in protector mode now. He's gonna come get us. Shout out to my dad being 6.5 feet tall, because this water, we could stand in it, but it was kind of like here. You could bounce off of the ground to get onto the board, but it was, if you were to be pulled by this current underwater, it would have gone over our mouth and nose. Just deep enough to be dangerous for us. Fine for him, who's over a foot taller than I am. He finally gets to us, realizes this current is going straight down, feels with his foot. A pipe had come exposed in the ocean. Why were there pipes in the ocean in the first place? All we could figure was that it was 2 pipes that had been connected, that had gotten detached from each other for some reason, and now this exposed pipe was drawing water in a place that it should not have been. Obviously, pipes doing that should not be in places where civilians are just out swimming. Anyway, my dad came to the rescue. He saved us. No one drowned, thankfully. But yeah, beach pipe. And the last little story in my anthology of happenings here, still not all of them, of course, gotta have some surprises. I feel like it's going to be obvious what the last story is if you know me in person and have heard this. I call it the lightning incident. Generally, you just don't want to be anywhere near where lightning strikes, because even if it doesn't hit you dead on and burns you, it can still hurt you. It's a lot of electricity. So, hypothetically speaking, if you were a teenager who was hypothetically being really stupid and taking a phone call during a lightning storm, and hypothetically the lightning were to strike right next to you, it will still send electricity through you. It will also, fun fact, operate much in the same way that a flash grenade does. It's going to be the brightest light you've ever seen in your life, and the loudest bang. Immediately. It's just a series of unfortunate sensory experiences. You see the brightest light you've ever seen. Simultaneously, you hear the loudest bang you've ever heard. And then you don't see or hear anything for a bit. Which is great. You don't need those senses right now, because your sense is now the pain that you feel from the electricity going into your arm. This is a formal apology to my mother, who was on the other side of the phone call and did not know that I was outside during a lightning storm talking to her until she heard the lightning bang through the phone and then heard me saying ow. I didn't hear myself saying ow, but again, I could not hear anything. So, this is me apologizing for frightening you, and also for being stupid and having a phone call in a lightning storm instead of being inside the cinder block building that was 4 feet to my left. Lesson thoroughly learned. But yeah, lightning hurts. And so does my elbow sometimes. And that was a quick look into some of the fun stories I have around whatever the weird luck energy I have is. Oh my gosh, you couldn't even make this up, right? Okay, I just got back from work because I went to work immediately after filming that video. I was waiting to clock out and went to pull my phone out of my pocket, and it slipped out of my pocket and hit the ground. The display is just... I swear it did not look like that when I was filming the video. It's... The display or whatever... The screen, it looks cracked. It's not. It's the screen protector. But I somehow managed to just obliterate the LCD or whatever it's called. So now I gotta go see if that can be fixed tomorrow. I like when it shows me all of my screen except for that line right there, because it is usable. Like, everything's fine. The only thing that is broken is the display. But it reminds me of my laptop that I used throughout high school that looked exactly like that. Portion of it was just completely... The LEDs didn't work because my laptop got run over by a car. What is wrong with me? Hi, it's me again, further in the future, one day later. It is tomorrow from the rest of the video. Went to go get my phone fixed. Sister Daniel is fine. She lives, just had to get the screen replaced. Finding a phone repair place that actually fixed phones and actually had Android parts in stock was its own issue, its own way more complicated than it needed to be processed that I'm not going to get into. But on the way to the store that actually had Android stuff, we got rear-ended. No one was hurt. We weren't at fault. Best case scenario for what it was. But, oh my gosh, are you serious? The curse had been leaving me alone for too long. It had been letting me go by too easily, and I talked about it, and it's angry again. Didn't mean to bring this up. Oops. My bad, Fates. Sorry. Whatever, figured the update was relevant to the everything else in this video. Back to yesterday me. What do you think? Do you think it's Murphy's Law? Do you think it is anything that can go wrong will go wrong? Do you think I'm just cursed? Or do you think I am actually secretly the main character in some kind of Truman show on a different reality and they just gotta keep things interesting? Probably not that last one. Unless, whatever it is, it certainly keeps life interesting. And it just keeps happening. There's always something new. There are more tales to tell, more experiences to experience. But for now, this is it. Ciao.